The alien woman demanded a human as her prize. No one understood why. No one expected silence to be the loudest sound in the galactic assembly. The chamber was massive, larger than any city square on Earth, floating in open space like a polished jewel. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species sat or hovered or stood in their own preferred ways. Some glowed softly. Some communicated through colors. Others used sound, scent, or light. The air itself adjusted constantly so everyone could survive. And yet when the alien woman spoke, everything stopped. "I claim my prize," she said calmly. "One human." The translation systems worked perfectly. Every species heard the words in their own language. There was no confusion, no error, just disbelief. The human delegation froze. The diplomats from Earth exchanged quick looks, their faces tight with confusion. Around them, alien delegates leaned forward, antennae twitching, eyes widening, skin patterns flickering in surprise. A human? Out of all the things in the galaxy. The prize ceremony was the final step of the Concord trials, a long diplomatic contest meant to reward wisdom, cooperation, and long-term planning. The prizes usually included rare star maps, energy rights, ancient technology, or trade control over entire systems. Never a person. And never a human. The alien woman stood alone at the center platform. She was tall by human standards, though slim and still. Her skin was pale silver, smooth and unmarked. Her eyes were dark, almost black, but reflective, like deep water under starlight. She wore no visible weapons, no armor, only a flowing garment that shifted colors slowly like a thinking thing. She did not look aggressive. She did not look angry. She looked certain. A murmur spread through the chamber. Some species whispered in alarm. Others laughed quietly, assuming it was a joke or a misunderstanding. A few looked toward the human section with open curiosity. The presiding speaker, an ancient being made of crystal and light, adjusted its form and spoke. "Prize claims are traditionally material," the speaker said carefully. "Clarification is requested. Do you mean a human artifact, a cultural envoy, a genetic sample?" The alien woman shook her head once. "No," she said. "I mean a living human individual." That was when the silence returned. On Earth's delegation platform, Ambassador Helen Moore felt her heart sink. She had represented humanity in alien spaces for nearly 20 years, and she had learned to read a room full of creatures that were nothing like her. This was bad. Not dangerous, not hostile, but deeply wrong in a way she did not understand. "With respect," Ambassador Moore said, standing slowly, "humans are not prizes. We are a sovereign species." The alien woman turned her gaze toward Moore. When her eyes settled on the human ambassador, Moore felt a strange pressure, not threatening but intense, like being truly seen for the first time. "I am aware," the woman said. "That is why the rules require consent." The speaker shifted again. "The claimant is correct," it said. "The Concord rules allow any willing participant species to offer a representative, provided no coercion occurs." The human delegates stiffened. They knew the rules. Everyone did. They had been written long before humans ever reached the stars. At the time, no one imagined they would ever apply to a person. Around the chamber, reactions began to change. Some species grew interested. Others grew uneasy. A few, especially older civilizations, became very quiet. Ambassador Moore took a slow breath. "May we ask why?" she said. "Why a human?" The alien woman did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked around the chamber at the gathered civilizations, at the layers of history and power floating together in one place. "Because," she said at last, "you are the only species here that still surprises itself." The words echoed, translated perfectly, and caused a new wave of confusion. Humans surprised themselves? What did that even mean? A tall avian delegate clicked its beak. "Humans are unstable," it said openly. "They contradict themselves constantly. That is not a strength." A gelatinous being pulsed in agreement. "Their history is inefficient, repeated failures, emotional decision-making." The alien woman listened without reacting. "They are young," another voice added. "Unrefined." Ambassador Moore felt heat rise in her chest, but before she could respond, the alien woman spoke again. "Yes," she said simply, "that is why." The chamber buzzed now, voices overlapping as delegates debated loudly. The speaker raised its light arms, restoring order with visible effort. "The human delegation has the right to deliberate," the speaker announced. "No immediate decision is required." The alien woman inclined her head slightly. "I will wait." And just like that, she stepped back, returning to her place among the observers as if she had not just shaken the foundation of interstellar diplomacy. The human platform sealed itself in a privacy field. Inside, panic erupted. "This is unacceptable," one advisor said immediately. "We can't give someone away like property." "No one said property," another argued. "But what does she want with a human? A hostage, a symbol, a threat?" Ambassador Moore held up her hand. "Enough!" The room fell quiet. "We don't know her intentions," Moore said, "but she followed the rules. She demanded consent. That matters." "Or it's a trick," someone muttered. Moore nodded. "Possibly, but refusing outright could insult one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. That could cost us more than this demand ever could." Silence settled again, heavier this time. Then a quieter voice spoke. "What if someone volunteers?" All eyes turned. The speaker was a man seated near the back of the platform. He was unremarkable in every visible way: average height, average build, dark hair already showing hints of gray. His name badge read Elias Carter, Cultural Analysis Division. "You're not serious," someone said. Elias shrugged slightly. "Why not? The rules allow it." "This isn't a research exchange," another advisor snapped. "You could disappear." "Yes," Elias said calmly, "or I could learn something no human has ever learned before." Ambassador Moore studied him closely. "Why you?" she asked. Elias thought for a moment before answering. "Because I'm not special," he said. "I'm not a hero, I'm not a soldier, I'm not a genius. If she wants a human, then maybe she doesn't want the best of us." "Maybe she wants the most human," Moore said softly. Elias met her eyes. "Exactly." Outside the privacy field, the galaxy waited. Speculation spread fast. Some believed the alien woman was mocking humanity. Others suspected a deep strategy. A few ancient species watched the human platform with renewed interest, as if seeing something they had missed before. Finally, the field dropped. Ambassador Moore stepped forward again. "The human delegation acknowledges the claim," she said, voice steady. "A volunteer will be offered, provided all conditions of consent and safety are honored." The alien woman turned slowly. "I accept," she said. Elias felt every eye in the chamber turn toward him as he stood. He did not feel brave. He felt curious. As he walked toward the central platform, he sensed the weight of history pressing down, not just human history, but galactic history. Species that had risen and fallen, empires that had grown perfect and then faded. The alien woman watched him approach. When he reached her, she studied him closely, not with cold analysis, but with something like interest. "You understand," she said quietly, only for him to hear, "that you are not being taken because you are strong." Elias nodded. "I figured. Or because you are important." "Also figured." Her lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "Good. Then you may understand the truth when the time comes." The speaker announced the formal conclusion of the trials, but few paid attention. All eyes were on the human and the alien woman standing side by side. No chains, no force, just a choice. As the chamber slowly emptied, one thought echoed across every species present. Why would an ancient, powerful civilization choose a human? And what did that say about the future? Elias expected fear to come first. As the transport vessel separated from the galactic assembly and slid into the quiet dark between stars, he waited for his chest to tighten, for his hands to shake, for regret to rise like a wave. None of it came. Instead, there was only silence. The ship was not large. It was smooth and clean, shaped more like a curve than a machine. There were no visible controls, no sharp corners, no seats with straps or restraints. Soft light filled the space, changing slowly as if the ship was breathing. Elias stood near the center, unsure where to sit. "You may choose any place you like," the alien woman said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. She stood a short distance away, hands folded loosely in front of her. She had not restrained him. She had not given orders. That alone made Elias uneasy. "Am I allowed to walk around?" he asked. "Yes. Ask questions. Yes. Leave." The alien woman looked at him for a moment. "Not yet," she said honestly. Elias nodded. He respected honesty more than comfort. He moved toward one of the curved walls and sat, resting his hands on his knees. The surface beneath him adjusted slightly, becoming firm but comfortable. "So," he said, breaking the quiet, "do I call you something? A title? A name?" "You may call me Seelan," she said. "That is the closest sound your language can make." "All right," Elias said. "Seelan it is." The ship moved faster than anything he had ever experienced, yet there was no feeling of motion, no shaking, no sound, only the stars outside stretching into thin lines of light. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Seelan asked, "Are you afraid?" Elias thought carefully before answering. "Not exactly," he said. "I'm aware I should be, but mostly I'm curious." She tilted her head slightly. "That response is common among humans." "That's comforting," Elias said dryly. "No," Seelan replied. "It is concerning." Elias smiled faintly. "We get that a lot." The ship adjusted its course on its own. Elias noticed there were no visible windows, yet he could still see space clearly, as if the walls themselves were transparent when needed. "You said I wasn't chosen because I'm strong," Elias said after a while, "or important." "Yes." "Then why me?" Seelan did not answer right away. Instead, she moved closer and sat across from him, folding her legs in a way that mirrored his posture, not perfectly, but close enough to feel intentional. "You volunteered," she said. "That narrowed the field." "Plenty of humans volunteer for strange things," Elias said. "Experiments, missions, reality shows." "Yes," Seelan said, "but not usually without reward." Elias considered that. Fair point. She studied him with those dark, reflective eyes. "You did not ask what you would gain." "I figured whatever I gain won't be obvious yet," Elias said, "and if I asked too early, it would mean I was already thinking like a traitor." Seelan seemed to consider this deeply. "Your species is young," she said. "Yet you understand timing." "We mess it up a lot," Elias admitted, "but we try again." "That," Seelan said softly, "is what interests us." The ship entered a region of space where the stars grew thin. Darkness pressed in, deep and heavy. Elias felt small, but not alone. "How long is the journey?" he asked. "By your measurements, several days," Seelan replied. "Good," Elias said. "Then we should probably talk." "Yes," she agreed. "We should." She began with a question he did not expect. "Tell me," she said, "about the first failure you remember." Elias blinked. "My first failure?" "Yes, not the worst, not the most painful, just the first." Elias leaned back, thinking. "I was 7, he said slowly. "I tried to build a kite with my father. We followed the instructions exactly. But when we flew it, it crashed right into a tree." "What happened then?" Seelan asked. "We laughed," Elias said. "Then we argued about what went wrong, then we tried again." "And did the second kite fly?" "No," Elias said. "But the third one did." Seelan was very still. "Why did you not stop after the second failure?" Elias frowned slightly. "Because stopping didn't make sense." Seelan looked confused. "Explain." "If something doesn't work," Elias said, "you either accept it can't be done or you assume you're missing something." "Humans usually assume we're missing something." Seelan's fingers moved slowly, tracing patterns in the air. "Most species assume the opposite," she said. "They assume the universe has spoken." "That explains a lot," Elias said. She ignored the comment. "Tell me about your people," she said. "Not your governments, not your technology, your people." Elias hesitated. That was a big question. "We argue," he said finally. "A lot. We disagree about almost everything. We make mistakes, then pretend we didn't, then argue about them later." "Yes," Seelan said. "We have observed this." "But," Elias continued, "we also tell stories about those mistakes. We write them down, we laugh at them, we warn each other, sometimes we even learn." "Sometimes," Seelan repeated. "Sometimes is better than never," Elias said. That earned him a strange look, not approval, not amusement, recognition. Over the next days, the pattern continued. Seelan asked questions, not about science or war or politics, but about small things. Why humans kept pets that served no function. Why humans made music they would never profit from. Why humans cried over stories they knew were not real. Elias answered as best he could. "Because it feels right," he said often. Seelan did not like that answer. "Feeling is unreliable," she said. "So is logic," Elias replied, "especially when it doesn't understand what it's measuring." She did not argue. Instead, she showed him things. The ship projected memories into the air, cities that stretched across entire planets, civilizations that had reached perfect balance. No hunger, no conflict, no waste. "And yet," Elias said quietly, "they all feel quiet." "Yes," Seelan said, "they stopped changing." "What happened to them?" "They endured," Seelan replied. "That sounds like a polite word for stuck," Elias said. She looked at him sharply. "You judge quickly." "We had practice," Elias said. "We got stuck plenty of times." "And how did you escape?" she asked. Elias smiled sadly. "Sometimes we didn't, sometimes we failed completely, but sometimes someone tried something stupid." Seelan was silent for a long time after that. On the fourth day, Elias noticed something else. Seelan was changing, not physically. But her questions grew less structured, more personal. Do humans fear being forgotten? She asked. Yes, Elias said without hesitation, almost more than death. Why? Because being remembered means you mattered, Elias said. Even a little. Seelen looked away. My people do not remember individuals, she said. Only outcomes. That's lonely, Elias said gently. We do not feel loneliness, she replied. Elias did not argue. He had learned that sometimes the most human thing to do was let silence speak. Near the end of the journey, the ship slowed. Outside, a star system appeared, old, stable, and strangely dim. That is my home, Seelen said. Elias studied it. It's beautiful, he said. Yes, she agreed. And dying. Elias turned to her. And that's why you needed a human. Yes, for what? He asked. To remind us, she said, that survival is not the same as living. The ship moved toward the distant world. Elias felt the weight of what was coming, not fear, not pride, but responsibility. He was not here as a prisoner, he was here as an answer. And humanity, whether it knew it or not, was about to be asked a question the galaxy had forgotten how to ask. The planet did not look dead. That was the first thing Elias noticed. As Seelen's ship moved closer, the world below appeared calm and beautiful. Wide oceans reflected soft starlight. Cities spread across the land in careful patterns, each one perfectly shaped, perfectly spaced. No smoke rose into the sky, no storms formed, everything looked balanced, too balanced. The ship slowed and descended without sound. Elias watched through the transparent surface as they passed over fields that grew in perfect rows and forests that looked untouched, yet somehow arranged. Your world is very clean, Elias said. Yes, Seelen replied. It has been that way for a long time. The ship settled onto a smooth platform that rose from the ground to meet it. As the doors opened, warm air flowed inside. It carried no strong smells, no dust, no wind. Elias stepped out slowly. The ground felt firm beneath his feet, almost soft, as if designed to support him exactly. The sky above was a pale blue with no clouds. Too perfect, Elias thought again. Several figures waited nearby. They looked similar to Seelen, tall, silver-skinned, calm. Their eyes held the same deep darkness, but unlike Seelen, their faces showed no clear emotion. They watched Elias with quiet interest. This is Elias Carter, Seelen said to them. The human. No titles, no explanations, just that. One of the figures stepped forward. You are smaller than expected, it said without insult. Elias smiled politely. We get that a lot. The figure paused, clearly unsure how to respond. Seelen gestured forward. Come, she said. The council is waiting. They walked through wide streets that were completely silent. No vehicles passed. No voices echoed. Beings moved here and there, but always calmly, always with purpose. Elias noticed something strange. No one looked at each other for long. They don't talk much, Elias said quietly. They communicate constantly, Seelen replied, just not with words. That explains the silence, Elias said, but it still feels lonely. Seelen did not answer. The council chamber was circular, open to the sky. Light filtered down naturally, though Elias could not see a sun. The council members stood evenly spaced, each one identical in posture. Seelen stepped into the center. I have returned, she said, with the human. All eyes turned to Elias. He felt exposed but not threatened. You may speak, one council member said. Explain why you were brought. Seelen looked at Elias, not as an order, as an invitation. Elias swallowed, then stepped forward. I don't know everything, he said honestly. But I think I'm here because humans don't stop asking questions. A low murmur moved through the council. We ask questions, a council member replied. We answered them long ago. Elias nodded. That's the problem. Silence followed. You believe answers are the end? Elias continued. For humans, answers are just another place to start arguing. The council studied him closely. Your species values inefficiency, one said. No, Elias replied. We value possibility. Seelen watched carefully as the council processed this. You have achieved balance, Elias said, gesturing around, but balance is not the same as growth. Growth leads to instability, a council member said. Yes, Elias agreed, and instability leads to mistakes. Which we eliminated. And that, Elias said softly, is why you're fading. The words hung in the air. No anger followed, no denial, only quiet thought. Seelen spoke then. Our systems predict total continuation, she said, but no evolution. That sounds like existing forever without becoming anything new, Elias said. That is survival, a council member replied. It's also fear, Elias said gently. That caused something unexpected. One of the council members looked away. The meeting ended without judgment. Elias was escorted to a living space, comfortable, open, filled with light. Everything he needed appeared before he asked for it, but something was missing: choice. Over the following days, Elias was observed, not tested, observed. They watched him eat, rest, walk, think. They asked questions about human history, but always in terms of results. What was the outcome? Sometimes we lost everything. This was once a place of invention, she said. Now it is preserved. Elias frowned. Preserved from what? From change. He crouched and touched the ground. It was smooth, too smooth. When was the last time something failed here? He asked. Seelan hesitated. I do not know, she admitted. That's not a good sign, Elias said. Failure is waste, Seelan said. Failure is information, Elias replied. She looked at him sharply. You humans celebrate failure, she said. No, Elias corrected. We survive it. They walked in silence. Later, Seelan showed Elias records, millions of years of history, stable growth, perfect systems, no collapse. And yet, Elias said, no stories. Seelan looked confused. We have records. Records are not stories, Elias said. Stories are about what it felt like. What is the value of feeling? She asked. Elias thought for a long time. Feeling tells us when logic is missing something, he said. That night, Elias dreamed. He dreamed of Earth, not cities or wars or technology, but small things. A child learning to walk and falling again and again. Someone playing music badly, smiling anyway. People arguing, forgiving, failing, trying again. When he woke, Seelan was waiting. The council wishes to speak again, she said. This time, the chamber felt different. Less perfect, one council member stepped forward. We are declining, it said, not in numbers, in purpose. Yes, Elias said. You stopped asking why and only asked how. We want to remember how, the council member said. Elias took a breath. Then you must accept uncertainty, he said. You must accept that you will make mistakes again. That is unacceptable, another replied. It's unavoidable, Elias said. Seelan stepped beside him. The human has shown us something, she said. Not an answer, a direction. The council turned inward, silent. Finally, a decision came. You will stay, they said to Elias, not as a subject, as a teacher. Elias felt a weight settle on his shoulders. I can try, he said, but I can't promise success. That, the council replied, may be the lesson. As Elias left the chamber, Seelan walked beside him. You are changing us, she said. No, Elias replied. I'm just reminding you. She looked at him with something new in her eyes, hope. And somewhere far away, humanity remained unaware that one ordinary human had begun teaching an ancient civilization how to fail again, so they could finally live. Change did not arrive loudly. It came quietly, like a small crack in a perfect wall. At first, nothing seemed different. The cities still stood in clean lines, the systems still worked. The skies were still clear. To an outsider, Seelan's world looked the same as it always had, but inside the minds of its people, something had shifted. Questions had returned. Not many, not yet, but enough. Elias noticed it during his daily walks. Some beings began watching him longer than before, not with cold study, but with something closer to curiosity. Others avoided him completely. Change, Elias knew, was uncomfortable, especially for those who had built their entire identity on stability. The council had given Elias a role, but not a title. He was not called a teacher or an advisor. He was simply allowed to speak, and others were allowed to listen. That freedom alone was dangerous. One cycle, Elias was invited to a public knowledge hall. These halls had once been centers of invention. Now they served as places where information was stored and quietly reviewed. The room was full, not crowded but full. Seelan stood beside him as he faced the gathered listeners. You may begin, she said. Elias took a breath. I won't give you answers, he said plainly. I can only share how humans deal with not having them. That caused some discomfort. Several listeners shifted slightly. On Earth, Elias continued, we often move forward without knowing the outcome. We argue, we fail, we adjust. Why accept such disorder? One listener asked. Because waiting for perfect certainty means never moving at all, Elias replied. Another voice spoke. We eliminated uncertainty to survive. And it worked, Elias said, but survival was never the finish line for us. That word again, finish line, it echoed uncomfortably. After the gathering, Seelan walked with Elias through a quiet section of the city. Some are resisting, she said. I expected that, Elias replied. They believe uncertainty will undo everything we built. It might, Elias said honestly. She stopped walking. You do not comfort us with false hope, she said. Elias met her eyes. No. Humans learned a long time ago that false hope is more dangerous than fear. Seelan considered that. Still, she said, many are afraid. Good, Elias said gently. Fear means you care about the future again. Not everyone agreed. A subgroup within the civilization, quiet, respected, deeply logical, began to speak against Elias' influence. They did not attack him. They did not accuse him. They questioned him, endlessly. Your species has suffered greatly, they said. You risk collapse regularly. They believed the purpose of civilization was to remain unchanged. They argued that Elias was not teaching life but chaos. Seelan stood between both sides. Torn, she had brought Elias here. She believed in his message, but she also understood her people's fear. One cycle, she asked Elias a private question. What if we fail completely? She asked. Elias did not answer right away. What if you do? He said finally. That would be unacceptable. For humans, Elias said, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the process. That thinking nearly destroyed you, Seelan said. Yes, Elias replied. Several times. She waited for more. But it also allowed us to grow past our limits, Elias added. Every time we fell, we learned something we couldn't have learned any other way. Seelan looked toward the horizon. Our people do not remember how to fall, she said quietly. That's why you need to practice, Elias said. The real conflict came soon after, not with shouting, not with force, with a decision. The council announced a trial initiative. For the first time in millions of cycles, a system would be changed without full prediction. A small one, controlled, an experiment. The continuity keepers strongly opposed it. This risks imbalance, they warned. Yes, Elias said openly, that's the point. The initiative was simple. Citizens would be allowed to make a choice that did not optimize outcome. They could choose based on interest, not efficiency. A small thing, but terrifying. Many refused, some participated, and something unexpected happened. Confusion, mistakes. Minor inefficiencies, and also creativity. New patterns emerged, new ideas. Some failed immediately, others led to unexpected improvements. The data showed it clearly. The system was less perfect, but more alive. Still, fear grew. One council member confronted Elias directly. You are changing us too quickly, it said. Elias nodded. That's possible. Then why continue? Because slowing down won't stop the fear, Elias said. It will only stretch it out. The council debated long and deeply. Seelan watched, silent. Finally, a question was asked that no one had voiced before. What if humanity is wrong? The room stilled. Elias stepped forward. Then you'll learn something, he said, and adjust. And if you are wrong, they asked him. Elias smiled faintly. Then humanity will learn something too. That honesty mattered. The council decided. The initiative would continue. But Elias would be given a choice. He could remain longer. Elias felt a tightness in his chest. He had known this moment would come. Seelan looked at him, searching his face. That night Elias stood alone, looking at the sky of a world older than his species. He thought of Earth, still messy, still loud, still uncertain, but alive. Seelan joined him. You may leave, she said, with honor. Elias nodded slowly. And you? I will remain, she said, and face what comes next. They stood in silence. You were never our prize, Seelan said finally. You were our risk. Elias smiled. Humans are good at that. The next cycle, preparations began. Some feared his departure. Some welcomed it. But all understood one thing. They were no longer the same civilization they had been before the human arrived. As Elias prepared to leave, one thought followed him. The most dangerous idea humanity ever created was not fire or machines or space travel. It was the belief that the future was allowed to be uncertain. And now, that idea was spreading among the stars.